Hey, Jeff, my man, it's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me. Looking forward to it.
Beautiful, and thank you so very much for being here. And you see, Jeff, oftentimes I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, I want to say thank you so very much, Jeff, for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invest in yourself. And oftentimes, my man, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Jeff, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, my man, just recently, I was on that same road. And this time around, mmm, a lot's changed about the mango tree. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches, and not just mangoes, Jeff. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely experience that day. I was so excited. Here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Jeff that you are today, that alone has made it really impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing, your philosophies, your insight, the impact your work is having, how you're offering your solutions. These stuffs are beautiful. And just before I sent you that request, Jeff, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Jeff is doing. And not only me now, but even with the audience. And here we had a day with the amazing Jeff. So thank you so very much for doing that yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much, my man.
Appreciate it. I really appreciate your inviting me. It's a wonderful opportunity.
Beautiful, my man. So let's get started. You see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today, Jeff, for two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Jeff, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, my man, ever since I realized that light in the Hebrew language knowledge in the Hebrew language means light, and darkness ignorance. I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the amazing Jeff on the show is for the sake of the audience. They say, Jeff, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got a lot of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, my man, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, Jeff, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Jeff got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Jeff, over to you.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you so much. I am a lawyer by background, a patent lawyer to be specific. Was in private practice for quite a long time and thought I would end my career there. But in 2012, joined a startup. I had an 11-year journey with the startup, and it was quite a roller coaster. It became a unicorn not long after I joined, and then went through a period of long decline, ended up in bankruptcy about 4 years later. I was interim president through the bankruptcy to try to keep the team together. We were purchased out of bankruptcy, became a unicorn again, and then we had an exit in 2023, which was quite successful. So that was a wonderful experience for me to be part of a team, to really be doing something that I felt was important. And on a parallel path while all of that was going on, I started on this fitness journey. I ran my first 10K at the age of 48. I joined the startup at age 50. 4 days before I joined the startup, I ran my first marathon, and then just kept going with the fitness while I was working with the startup and progressing there. Started to do more marathons, ultras, got into triathlons and climbed the ladder there as well. I did my first Ironman at age 57, my second one at age 59. I got into ultra marathons. I've done a 50 miler, a 72 miler is my longest race. Yeah, so for me, the decade of my 50s was an incredible decade, a period of growth and development. And, really now I'm age 63, super happy, and just kind of enjoying life and trying to keep things moving in a positive direction.
Beautiful, beautiful. Wow, wow, wow. You see, I want to look so young like you when I clock 63 as well. It's amazing. I love that. I love that. That's a beautiful one. So you mentioned fitness, and there was this question that just came to my mind. All right. So how can fitness transform someone in midlife? Got it?
Yeah, I think in a couple of ways. I think for me, you know, I think I guess most clearly it gave me more energy. I think it made me stronger. It made me feel stronger. It made me more confident. I think it also got me into a pattern of challenging myself, of pushing myself to do things that I had previously thought that I could never do. I had once told a friend that I was as likely to run a marathon as I was to walk on the moon. And then, after a few years, marathons became very routine. And then I went much, much farther than a marathon. Um, and so I think it's good for us to push ourselves in all spheres of our lives, whether it's personally to try to be the best person we can be, whether it's physically to try to do things that we might once have thought we could never do, and professionally to try to really challenge ourselves, to grow, to establish stretch goals and to pursue them. I think in all spheres of our lives, we are well served, and we really try to do our very best and to pursue excellence in whatever sphere that might be.
Beautiful. I got that. So what was it like, starting marathons and ultra marathons in your 50s?
It was wonderful. It was really wonderful. It was unexpected. I never thought of myself as a runner, and I have not really become a fast runner, but I have become a confident runner and someone who can go long distances and can stay out there and can deal with a lot of discomfort. But it was just kind of amazing, especially that first marathon was kind of magical. Running, it was a big marathon, the Marine Corps Marathon in Washington, D.C., thousands of people lining the route. It was just super exciting, inspirational signs along the way. And in the Marine Corps Marathon, when you cross the finish line, there's a Marine second lieutenant who salutes you and puts the finisher's medal over your neck, which is quite exciting. And you finish at the Iwo Jima Memorial, so it's all very it's wild. I mean, it's just an experience that I never thought I would have in this life, and it made me want more, and to have that experience again, and then to push myself to do even more interesting things. So it just opened up so many possibilities for me, which was wonderful. And especially
Hmm.
at an age where I think a lot of us are starting to narrow our sights and lower our kind of goals for our lives. But I don't think we have to do that. I think we can remain aspirational even into our 50s and 60s and still try to climb new mountains and, ascend new heights, all of those cliches that I actually I do believe in.
Beautiful. And thank you so very much for sharing that with us. You see, once we're done with this conversation, I'm definitely sending this podcast to someone. He needs to hear this. Okay, so I'm curious, what made you try ultra marathons? What made you tried it?
There's a race in South Africa called the Comrades Marathon. It's the world's largest and oldest ultra marathon. It's 56 miles. It links two cities, Durban and Pietermaritzburg. And I'd read about it before, and it always sounded fascinating to me, but it was never something that I was tempted to try. And then I read an article in 2017. It was an interview with a woman named Catherine Switzer. She was the first woman to officially run and finish the Boston Marathon. and she was coming to Washington on it was basically the 50th anniversary year of her Boston finish, and she was getting ready to run that race again, and she was going to run the Cherry Blossom 10 miler as a tune-up for Boston. And one of the things she said in the interview was, there's this one race that I really wanted always to do, the Comrades Marathon. And I remember reading it, and I was 50, I was 55 at the time. And I thought, you know what? I should actually try that. And I don't want to be in my 70s thinking this is something that I should have tried. I want to try it while there's still some time. So signed up for the race, qualified for the race. And in 2018, tried the race. And there are 5 intermediate cutoffs before you get to the stadium and cross the finish line. And there's a strict 12-hour time limit in which to complete the race. And I got cut after 51 miles at the last checkpoint before the stadium. I missed it by a minute 44. But it was a glorious experience to have tried it. It was something that, I would have told you years before was just absolutely crazy. Everything about the race, there are all sorts of traditions and the music, the songs that they sing before the race starts. There's a famous anti-apartheid song called Shoshaloza that they sing, and they sing the South African national anthem, of course. They play Chariots of Fire. I mean, it's all quite inspiring. And the race itself through the Valley of 1,000 Hills is scenic and spectacular. And, the South African people are warm and embracing. So, even though I didn't make it, I think that's one of the things that we need to embrace. I think we need to not be afraid to fail, not be afraid to come up short. And actually, that particular race led me to Ironman, because before I started that race, I said, you know what, I need to set another stretch goal for after this, just in case I don't finish. I want to have something positive to turn to, and decided to try to do a half Ironman next, and then to do a full Ironman a year later, and which was exactly what I ended up doing.
Amazing. The fact that you give it a try, nah. That speaks a lot about the kind of person you are. And thank you for sharing that as well. Okay, so what's been your favorite race so far?
It's a really good question. I think my favorite race was a 50-mile race I did in West Virginia. I did it 2 days before my 62nd birthday. I chose it as kind of a birthday present for myself. And it was through forest and hills, and there were climbs and descents. And it just was an adventure. It took me almost 14 hours to complete it. But it was such a journey. And that's one of the things that I like about these longer races. You feel like you're really having, in a condensed period of time, just this incredible emotional and physical roller coaster. You go through ups and downs, and you're confident, and then you're not so confident, and you can finish, then you think you can't finish. And it's amazing. And I think it's in many ways a metaphor or a kind of a microcosm of life, because that's life for all of us. We have our good periods. We have our tougher periods where we struggle. And we want to learn how to persevere through the downtimes, and really continue to stay positive and to give our very best. And so yeah, that race was amazing. I really loved it.
Beautiful. I got that. So we have 2 more to go. All right. So what is a big, hairy, audacious goal, and how do you set one?
The concept of a big, hairy, audacious goal comes from a business book by a guy named Jim Collins, and he talks about it in the corporate context, that a company can set this audacious goal to, for example, become number one in the industry, to do something really remarkable, to separate themselves from their closest competitors. And he gives some wonderful examples of that. And then he gives this great national example, which was John F. Kennedy in 1963, I believe, setting the goal of putting a man on the moon by the end of the decade, which the U.S. was actually successful in doing. And he argues that a big, hairy, audacious goal needs to be the right amount of difficult. It needs to be something that you can only achieve if basically you have to put in your very best effort. You probably need some amount of luck. It is a stretch goal. It is absolutely not certain that you're going to get there. So it can't be too easy, and it can't be too hard. It can't be impossible, and it can't be something that you can for sure achieve if you just put in the work. And so I read that book when I got into the startup world, and I thought, you know what, this could be great as an individual, to set a goal that's just outside of my comfort zone. It's something that I think I could do, but I'm not certain that I could do it. And so for me, Comrades was a BHAG, was a big, hairy, audacious goal. And then after that, doing the full Ironman, 40.6 miles marathon, 112-mile bike ride, and a 2.4-mile swim. That was a BHAG for me as well. I'm doing it in my late 50s. And I really did feel like I grew through those experiences, as not just as an athlete, just as an individual, my confidence level, just my optimism. It did a lot of really positive things for me, just as Jim Collins had predicted.
I tell you, these are really audacious goals, and you smashed them. Wow. Awesome. Okay, so do you believe the Ironman motto, anything is possible?
I've always loved that motto. But of course, in my Comrades experience is certainly, I think, a great example of this. I think, anything is possible sounds great, and it fits nicely on a T-shirt. But I think that the truth of the matter is a lot of things are possible. We would be surprised by how many things are possible, things that we might not think we could ever do, but we really could do them. Not every single thing is possible, but that's okay. And the only way we can ever really find out is if we try and if we make the effort and we put in the work. And so for me, I love the motto, but the reality is it's a little more nuanced than that, but that's okay. We still need to push ourselves.
We still need to push ourselves. I got that. So for folks who aren't into fitness yet, what is your advice for them?
I think, I read a book back in 2010 when I was first getting started on this journey called Younger Next Year. And the author recommends that people exercise. He recommends 6 days a week, at least 45 minutes a session, and really argues that can dramatically improve health span, fitness, optimism, all sorts of things. And I agree with that. I don't think people have to go chasing after triathlons or marathons or things like that. I think everybody's different. I think the key is to find what gives you pleasure, what makes you feel good about yourself, what you will persist in doing. It can't be unpleasant. It can't be something that you just dread and don't want to do because you won't continue with it. So I think in my view, it should be a mix of things. It can be walking, it can be swimming, it can be spinning, it can be yoga, whatever, basically at the end of the day makes you feel good about your body, good about yourself. I think is wonderful.
That's so true. And I would take that as a final thought, Jeff. So for folks who would like to reach out to you, learn more about everything we've discussed so far, or even ask questions, how can that be possible?
I am on LinkedIn, Jeffrey Weiss, and there's a reference to the book there. The book that I've written that's coming out on October 1st is called Racing Against Time, and it will be available on Amazon when it is out. And I also have a website, jeffreyweissauthor.com, and that's also a good place for people to make contact with me.
Beautiful. And that sounds like a very powerful book. I can't wait for that to be published, my man. Thank you so very much. Yeah, so that's going to be the end of the show, Jeff. Thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing this interesting stuff with us. It means a whole lot, my man. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.